final interview of the day. It's a pleasure to welcome Adam Raymond from SWEP. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. Yeah,
absolutely
thank you.
superb.
Yeah.
How'd speech go?
Very good, actually. I must admit, I rehearsed it a few times. I find that is always a better way than trying to read the notes and trying to think about the story that you want to tell, and something a little bit interesting and different, I think. So hopefully people enjoyed it and they found it useful and informative.
See, now you've got me going, because I also teach public speaking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when you're practicing, how do you practice?
So I just do it at home, and I literally just do it in the home office, and I just walk through the presentation.
Do you do it standing up and speaking out loud?
Yes, standing up and speaking out loud. Yeah.
It was very noticeable, because it was a great, really clear, and everyone got what you were talking about.
Yeah.
So briefly, just give us an idea about what SWEP do. I mean, you said it there, but let's get it on video so we can...
we're a company, so we manufacture brazed plate heat exchangers. It's something that not many people are aware of, but they're used in so many different applications. So everything from your gas boiler sitting at home, there could be one sat on your car engine possibly, trains, refrigeration equipment. We have people using them to test aircraft engines. Okay. So really it's anywhere where you need to transfer heat from one fluid to another. That could be water to water, oil to water, or refrigerant. And really often in all cases, you don't want to mix the two fluids. So the heat exchanger is used in so many different applications. And it's all we manufacture, so we are quite knowledgeable. So
you're very specific.
We're very specific, yeah.
Right.
And the brazed type is a very specific type of heat exchanger. There's lots of different other versions, but the brazed type is the most efficient in terms of size versus energy transferred, and also weight and cost as well. So it's a really efficient way of transferring heat from one medium to the other. And we see so much demand and interest now from data center operators and people involved in data centers, whereas we've not been so active in that in the past, and that's because historically it's been more cooled with air. Yep. But as we see the shift to being cooled with liquid, we're seeing more and more demand for our products. It brings with it certain challenges, certain design constraints. I think the market is so fluid, if you excuse the pun now, that keeping up with all the developments and different temperature changes can be challenging. So coming to an event like this, it really helps to get an ear to the ground, really find out what's going on. Yeah, speak to real people and get the real story and pick up lots of different bits of information from various other players in the industry. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It's a really great venue to
an unusual venue.
Event. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So
what I was going to say to you as well, what really interests me, do you foresee a time when data centers are basically heating homes, like as a
very good question.
With the cost of fuel and electricity and whatever for ordinary homeowners, is there a chance that data centres may become real parts of the community? We've got our data centre heats our town. I mean, you see it in Scandinavia all the time. Yes. But maybe being sort of uptaken in the UK.
I think absolutely, and you can probably see the interest in my eyes. Because I traditionally come from the heating industry, and when I've come into looking at what's going on in data centres and the amount of heat that these things generate, I'm absolutely staggered. These things are basically, heat generators. So I absolutely foresee that will happen. I don't think it'll be, totally take over. I think there'll still be dedicated data centers, but I think more and more, if we can use these to heat people's homes, there's concepts now where they're actually putting small-scale data centers in commercial buildings. They're putting maybe a server room in a basement. Obviously, there's challenges around that, getting the connection and the internet connection and the power. Yeah. But absolutely, there's startups in Sweden that are looking at this as a concept.
Yeah. I definitely think it would be a great way, especially with not only with everything that goes on today, but it's actually land and space that they need to use, and to get through like local planning or stuff like that. If you turn around and say, well, look, we'll heat the town.
Exactly.
It's just like a win-win for everyone.
It's a potential that you could even see in your house, a small-scale AI, system or any type of system actually, because the power is going up with all sorts of applications. Small scale in your house, you've got a good enough, we all have good fibre, most of us have good fibre connection. Yep. It doesn't need a huge amount of power. If we can get typically even 7 kilowatts, which, I have an electric car, so having a 7 kilowatt car charger was a relatively straightforward process. If we can have 7 kilowatts feeding a small server rack, say in your loft or some other free space, 7 kilowatts of heat energy is quite significant, and if we need more, we can lift that up with a heat pump. So there's a real, realistically and technically, it's quite possible for us to do that.
Well,
so
I mean, you've seen the advances that the industry is making, so it's not impossible that we will see it in the next sort of like 3 to 5 years that becomes a normal. Like you said, like people having their own mini data centre in the shed, in the garage, just to heat their home.
And do we have, a megawatt data centre, the planning and the development required for, let's say, a megawatt data centre? If we have lots of small mini data centres in people's houses, we're dividing up that kind of challenge in terms of grid connection and land availability and so on. And they already have electrical connections. They've got probably a good internet that can be upgraded potentially, because I know the internet suppliers, certainly where I live, I know I can get, quite a high speed, but they just throttle that down and they just want to charge me more. So I think the high speed is there. I think the power is there in people's houses. There's the need for heat. Even throughout the summer, we need hot water. So I think there's a real potential for that to happen. So
well, that's awesome, Adam. You've been the last interview, but you've been the most upbeat. Everyone's been great, but you're the most upbeat. I'm all happy.
Excellent.
I'm going to get free heating.
Yes, as a heating guy, background initially, I find it quite exciting, that concept that's possible.
And they're trying to come out. There's Samuel. He's going to bump you out of the way.
All right. No worries.
Again, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Lovely talking to you.